everyone, and welcome to Behind the Wrestler Season 3, Episode 2. My guest at this time is none other than Spencer Kyle.
Yeah.
So, first question. You've already have done one of these before. This is just a second one, a recap of sorts, a update of sorts, because you have done a lot since the first time you did your episode.
Yeah.
And a lot has happened, and a lot of good things has happened. And so obviously the first question is who, when, and where inspired you to become a professional wrestler, and how did you go about of trying to find a professional wrestling school here in New Zealand?
I kind of covered this in the last one. I think it was 2006. I think, and like I was watching with my dad and kind of flicking through channels and all that stuff, and I think I was just like captivated by the energy and the lights and the wrestling and the physiques. Like Triple H he's my guy, all that kind of stuff. So I think he was the one that got me into it from the start in 2006, and it's like 2011 was when I was looking into wrestling schools, and 2012 was when I got with Maniac United in July. So yeah.
And obviously you went from Maniac United and came to Hughes Academy and been with Hughes since. Let's talk about your your debut match was with none other than the standard hero Graham Hughes.
Yep.
Again, most people may not know this. Graham Hughes is your trainer and your teacher.
Yeah.
He has taught you the skills that you use in the ring, and
For sure.
going up against your mentor. What was the thoughts and the process going through your mind, and what did you take away from your debut match against your trainer?
Oof. It's kind of shitting myself, to be honest. Like I do like every single match.
Right.
But probably more so that one, because at that point I'd had like 4 years of training beforehand, and I was kind of friends with everyone, but like filming and stuff, and this was like my transition from filming to the actual wrestling stuff. So I felt like I had a chip on my shoulder, and I had to kind of prove myself that I was ready, and wrestling someone who's had like at that point 16 years experience or something. It's pretty daunting, to be honest. I think it went well for as good as a debut match can be, but like, I still get sweaty palms thinking about it now and everything, because it pretty like threw me off, but it was good to just go in the deep end and, wrestle someone that I cared about, and, because he's my trainer, so I want to impress him and put on a good show for everyone else. And, yeah. I think I was more so thinking about the audience and stuff, but there was a little part of me that was worried about myself and whether I could actually do it or not, and, that kind of stuff.
Yeah. And that match coming about was, I don't know if you've mentioned it to anyone or mentioned it before in previous interviews, but I remember you and I were advertising for upcoming show, and I believe it was at the night markets.
Oh yeah.
And again, Graham was there, and his wife Tanya, Cook Hughes, was there, and they were handing out flyers and getting people's attention. And telling them about the show, as you and I were doing a bit of mat work behind the table. And again, I'll let you tell the rest of that.
I don't really know where to take that, but you and I were doing like chain wrestling, as they call it, technical wrestling, where you exchange hold to hold and you don't break contact or connection. This was just to kind of like bring attention to our stand or our stall or whatever. And I guess Tanya was the first one to take notice, and basically just asked out of the blue if I was free that weekend, which was the 22nd of October, I think,
believe so, yeah.
2016,
Yeah.
to wrestle, and I was kind of like, yeah, I'm free, not knowing what she was asking and stuff. You know, I kind of get like that when I think I know what she's gonna say, but I wasn't sure. You know, and I was super excited, and yeah, she just asked me if I could wrestle, and you know, she liked what she saw, and she was telling me that I improved a lot since she had last seen me at that point. And that was basically my way in, I guess, to the October show.
And that's how you made your debut on shows against Graham Hughes.
Yeah.
And you know, you've had what, 3 or 4 matches with Graham now?
Probably like 5 or 6.
5 or 6. Okay.
Well, some of them are not like singles matches, but yeah,
like it's about what, 3 or 4 singles matches,
yeah.
right?
There was October 22nd, then there was December 2nd. This is 2016.
Mm-hmm.
Then there was the February 23rd or 4th. I'm not entirely sure.
Mm.
There was the Tauranga show that we did, so I wrestled him once there. That's 4th. And then there was the March one, so that was 5th, I think.
And like, you know, wrestling him from your debut match to your 4th match, what was the things and the skills that you learnt through that process?
Oof. Probably just to listen and to shut up.
Yeah.
When you're wrestling someone who is experienced, is as knowledgeable as he is.
Mm-hmm.
Not that I didn't know to keep my mouth shut before, but you get a bit of respect for people like that when you know your first time around and stuff. I think the thing I learned most was just the less is more phrase of just, you don't have to do 100 moves every second or every minute.
Mm-hmm.
You can just take your time, and the whole technical thing, I had a lot of fun doing that with him.
Right.
That's a good time. Hold to hold and just feeling the crowd, I guess, as opposed to just thinking about what's next, because I have a problem doing that. And I think wrestling him so many times has just allowed me to calm down a lot and get more comfortable with it, whoever I'm with.
Mm-hmm.
So.
And you know, transitioning from wrestling Graham, and you know, you got the opportunity to wrestle guys like Daniel Martins, guys like Charlie Roberts, and so on and so forth.
Yeah.
You've had you know, opportunities that came towards you purely of hard work, and you showed up and shut up and worked. Working with, so now from going from wrestling Graham to having the opportunity to wrestle Daniel Martins for the very, very first time. When you found out about wrestling Mr. Martins, what was the thought process and everything going through? How did you prepare, and how did you feel after the match?
I think he was like my 3rd or 4th opponent.
Mm-hmm.
So it was Graham first. I think it was Butler, and then maybe him. So at that point I was still like, you know, it would throw me off to like wrestle someone else, other than Graham, I guess. But he's really fun to work with, and he's probably the guy I've wrestled most apart from Graham at this point.
Mm-hmm.
So I feel like every time it gets better and better, and he was taught by Graham in KPW originally, so people may or may not know that, but
yeah.
When Graham first came here from the UK. So it feels like wrestling Graham, but it also doesn't, because he's his own wrestler and stuff like that. So I feel like it was good to wrestle someone who was similar to him, but actually, you know, it was different, and it was learning something different as well.
And you know, you went on and because he was the current Hughes Academy champion in one of your guys' matches.
Not anymore.
And
Yeah.
he, you guys had a series of matches for the Hughes Academy Championship. And at the final bout, you came victorious and becoming the youngest Hughes Academy champion ever, and secondly, the youngest champion at the age of 16.
16, yeah.
Ever in New Zealand. So you are currently the youngest champion ever in New Zealand. What was the process of getting the opportunity of becoming number one contender and competing for your first championship storyline, and then eventually becoming the first, you're having your first ever championship, and obviously becoming the first ever youngest?
I didn't actually know I was going to be champion until the actual day.
Right.
If that makes sense. So I guess I was focused, as cheesy as it sounds, on the journey and not the destination, because everyone wants a belt. Like, it's one of those things that it doesn't mean anything, but it also does mean something to the person winning it. So it was kind of like, it's an ornament, it's nice to have, but also to me it means that the person says you're ready, your coach, your trainer, book, or whatever. And it's a, you carry it with pride kind of thing, but not a big head and all that shit. So I feel like going through it's the journey and not the destination thing. Wrestling people like Charlie Roberts and Jimmy Fox and those guys to kind of work my way up to the finale of getting an opportunity to get the title and stuff was really good. I worked with a lot of good people on the way, and I think it was just going match by match and being in the moment and not thinking about like where it could lead me and that kind of stuff. Just trying to learn from the people that I was wrestling at the time, and all that kind of good stuff.
You took the 1, 2, 3 count happens, and you have your first ever championship. Like, this is it, I won.
Yeah.
And what was the feelings and the thoughts going through your mind of this is actually happening? It's not a dream. It's not me fantasizing about it. It's actually reality now. What was the thought process of you? Pretty much your celebratory process of it. Did it hit you right then? Did it take you a couple of weeks?
So after the time I won the belt, the celebration victory, I guess, I didn't really celebrate, even though I probably should have, because I was trying to remain humble and not, I guess, be like, hey everyone, I won a belt. But, in those kind of situations, I was told that I should actually celebrate, and that it is a special moment, and, it's okay to actually find enjoyment out of winning a belt, so long as you don't, let it get to your head and all that kind of stuff. So I think the moment, I didn't quite take it in at first because of that, but I think as time went on, I put it up in my room and I could see it every day, and it was kind of motivation to actually want to keep it and to work harder for it. And no one has a belt forever, so I thought when the time comes that I drop it to someone else who's also deserving of it, then I would work just as hard, if not harder, to get it back.
You mentioned working with Charlie Roberts, the first ever Hughes Academy champion, and I believe currently still the longest Hughes Academy champion.
Yeah, probably.
Ever. What was the... Charlie Roberts is the bar at... in New Zealand. He is the guy. If you want to make a name for yourself, he is the guy you want to go up against. And if you want to put like an impact, again, Charlie Roberts is the guy to get you there. Working with a phenomenal wrestler like Charlie Roberts, former champions for different places, like his schedule is crazy. like he wrestles every weekend, different people. You know, he's been in the same ring and had a toe-to-toe moment with none other than Will Ospreay.
Yeah.
You know, he's wrestled guys like Shane Sinclair, Graham Hughes. The list goes on and on and on. Getting to wrestle Charlie Roberts and take that experience for yourself. What was the the thought process of you finding out, okay, my next opponent is going to be Charlie Roberts? How did you prepare? What did you take away from the match? And so on and so forth.
Yeah, wrestling Charlie, or finding out that I was wrestling Charlie, was probably the most nervous I've ever been. And I think you can attest to that. I remember talking to you about that, and I was so nervous.
He was. He really was.
Because Charlie, like Graham, they're both my coaches and trainers, and I feel like we have to live up to a certain expectation from them. You know, not that we have to brown nose or try and impress them to a certain point, but you know, I guess you always do a little bit, wanting to try and impress them to a certain point. That's kind of an oxymoron that doesn't really make sense, but you know, the point is you always want to do well in front of your trainers and make them happy. So I feel like wrestling him, when it was just first announced, I was kind of stressing out about that and how it would go and how it would play out. And I think the match was pretty solid. I think I could have done a lot better because the nerves got to my head and I was, you know, I think I forgot a lot and all that kind of stuff. But wrestling him is probably the most I've ever learned in a single match. Like the minute details, you know, things I never ever thought of before, just match psychology wise, intensity, that kind of stuff. That's all him, and he taught me a lot just from one match. So I'm very thankful for that.
You know, and then moving on, like from Charlie Roberts to the infamous Jimmy Fox. Getting the opportunity to wrestle Jimmy Fox, I believe it was after Charlie Roberts.
Before, I think.
Before?
July
or
28th.
Yeah, it was. I know it was one of them. Was either before or
Charlie
after.
was September 8th.
I think so.
Fact check that, but
Yeah,
September 8th.
Yeah. But getting to wrestle Jimmy Fox again, he's done a lot. He's been around for a very long time. Again, he is, you know, he was also taught by Graham as well, a bit by Graham as well, back in KBW days. And again, getting to wrestle Jimmy Fox, who for a short period of time took a break from wrestling and then returned to wrestling. And I think it's just a great thing that he returned to wrestling, so more people have the opportunity again to learn from him, because there's things that he can also teach as well. Getting to learn from Jimmy Fox against you and Jimmy Fox, what was the whole process of that again? What did you take away from that match?
So kind of similar to Charlie, I think, is, they're all similar, but they're all their own wrestlers, and I think that's the most important thing to remember, because they're all KBW boys, the old original guys from mid 2000s, and they all learned under the same system. But I'd say Charlie Roberts' one was intensity and match psychology. I think with Jimmy Fox it was probably more like pacing and that kind of stuff. So I feel like him, Charlie Roberts, and Daniel Martins, it was kind of a combination of all of those things. Like I took little bits from each match. It wasn't always this guy taught me everything, that guy didn't. Everyone's taught me something. So I feel like from Jimmy's it was that added fluff, I guess, and it was really good because though he hadn't wrestled for a while, he'd done like one with Alvaro Maximo or something like that, I think. But I wasn't worried about ring rust or anything like that because I knew he could work. Like this guy's really good, and I could learn something from him, definitely. That's basically what I thought going into it. It's just, I know this is a resource that I can learn from, and not use him as a means to an end, because he's a great guy, but like pick his brain and actually try and, you know, get something out of it.
Yeah.
Because I'm given the opportunity, so I may as well do my best to actually get something from it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And you know, again, you wrestled Charlie Roberts, you wrestled Jimmy Fox to get the opportunity, to get to the championship match that you had, and then you also mentioned you had worked with Butler, again, who has has international experience. He used to wrestle all over Europe, from Scotland and the UK and all that, the scene over there, and getting the opportunity to work with Butler. What was the how did that all come about, and what was the thought process, the preparation? What did you learn from him? What did you take away?
Yeah. So I hate to say at that point again, but at that point, he was my second opponent, I think, in singles match. So that was also a very nerve-wracking first time kind of thing. It was like, oh, I'm wrestling someone else now. And the dude's like 6'4" or something. He's a big lad.
Yeah. So
that was kind of intimidating. You know, just wrestling someone so big. Not that it really matters, but for at the time I was probably like 5 something. I was a small boy and had like no meat on the bones at that point, and yeah, I think wrestling him was very, very good. And I feel like just the way people work, like you can tell, you know, when someone moves you around, it feels differently, and when they call stuff to you, it's different. I'm just trying to think what specifically I learned from that match, because this was like March of 2017, so it's been a while.
Yeah, it's been a while, yes.
But no, I definitely learned stuff from him for sure.
Yeah.
Absolutely. I've learned everything from... I've learned stuff from everyone. But with him, I think it was more so wrestling people who are twice my size, and I have to kind of adapt to that. I think that was definitely a good thing. So that was probably what was on my mind the most going into that match, was how do I work with someone who's twice my size and has not the same but similar experience to Graham, and you know, I think it kind of threw me up, you know. It's like doing, you know, you're flipping a pan and you're changing things up and whatnot, so it was good.
And you know, the reason why I asked about Butler and all your previous opponents is because you had your first title defense.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, it was the only title defense.
Yeah, that bastard.
And you know, going in to your first title defense, which became a triple threat.
Yep.
Daniel Martins did his rematch clause, and
cheeky man.
Butler had a briefcase that he, you know, he won, because he went back to Europe for personal reasons, but did a couple of shows while he was there, and won a briefcase which allows you to cash in for any championship, anywhere, anytime, any place. So he brought that from all the way over there to here, and he held on for it for a good couple of months, and
I'm impressed. That's quite a distance to
it is
hold on to a briefcase, and
it is.
Gotta take it through customs and
like and like bringing it over here, holding up and picking his moment of the right moment to cash it in, and he cashes it in, and it becomes a triple threat match. But he just didn't come in, attack you from behind and cash it in. He gave you a couple of weeks notice here.
Boy.
You know, he did a promo video about it, and he said, you know what, this isn't going to be a singles match, this is now going to be a triple threat match, because I am cashing in my briefcase and I want what's rightfully mine, which is the Hughes Academy Championship. Unfortunately, he got his wish. He walked out the new and current Hughes Academy champion. What was the thought process of you going into this triple threat as the champion, and what was the thought process coming out as not the champion?
Oh, that's a good question. I think because they were two people that I'd fought before.
Mm-hmm.
It was, I know how they both like to wrestle,
Mm-hmm.
but I don't know how they like to wrestle in a triple threat match.
Right.
And that definitely that changes things up.
Mm-hmm.
Because there's three people, it's odd number of people, and yeah, I guess it was more daunting.
Right.
I heard the promo videos, and I sent out one of my own, and it was alright. I'm not a good public speaker, as you probably have noticed already. I'm definitely, I like to have my actions speak louder than words kind of person,
Mm-hmm.
for sure. Like, I've always favored the wrestling side over the media, this side of thing.
Mm-hmm.
But I like doing this, and because it pushes me, and I had to send out that promo video, and that was the start of the whole triple threat thing, was when he called me out, and I sent him something, and, Daniel Martin sent out one too, and we all had our war of words thing, and, when the time actually came, and I was trying to pump myself up before the show and whatnot, and the man behind the camera gave me a nice little, pump-up speech, I guess, because, he knows I need that kind of kick up the arse and motivation just to get shit done and, go to work, I guess. So with the two boys that were in the ring, I was like the last person to make my entrance, so I'd watch them come out and everything like that, and that was probably the most stressful part. It's always more stressful before you actually get out there.
Mm-hmm.
When you're out there, it's stressful, but it's not, end of the world.
Mm-hmm.
When you're wearing the title belt, like, I think we were second to last match, maybe. So we had to, kind of live up to the show, and every match, ideally, should get better and better and whatever, set the bar and set the tone. So I feel like I had to live up to that, and I feel like when I saw them waiting in the ring for me and the music hit and, you finished giving me the hype up speech, I was packing myself, and I try to not look like I was, but I certainly was. Yeah. It was scary.
The thought process of coming back as not champion anymore, how did that affect you training wise, workout wise, mentality wise? Did that motivate you to be like, okay, I now have to work even more harder to get it back the second time?
Yes and no, I think. Like, it didn't affect me in the sense that I thought, oh no, I don't have a championship anymore, I'm nothing. Because I agree with the saying that, the champion makes the belt doesn't make the champion, or whatever the thing is.
Right.
Yeah, saying something like that. But it definitely motivated me to want to work harder and do more, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm not focused on winning the belt, or the championship, it's, I'm putting in the work because I want to put in the work, not because I want to win a belt.
Mm-hmm.
So I feel like losing is better than winning it, in a sense, because you actually care to, it drives you more, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
You win it, and, surely you want to work even harder to keep it, but
Right.
I feel like losing it's just even bigger kick up the ass. Winning or losing it, I don't think it matters, like, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's good to have the championship.
Yeah.
But I guess if you don't have it, it's not, it's not going to kill you.
Right.
But it's definitely something to always work towards, and everyone wants it,
Mm-hmm.
for sure. And I think if they say they don't, they're probably lying.
Mm-hmm.
If they don't, that's totally cool. But it's it's like when you do a martial arts competition and you win a medal, or
Right.
it's just a pat on the back to say that you've actually worked hard for it, kind of thing.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
From all of your experience that you've had from when you started to where you are now, what is your favorite match so far?
Oh, I can't say that though. Because there's
Favorite few matches.
a few matches.
To make it easier for you.
I'm not saying I've had like a million matches to choose from. I'm just saying like, out of the people that I've wrestled, they're all too good in their own way, I guess. So it's kind of hard to like single people out. But I'd say the Charlie Roberts and the Liam Fury one.
Mm-hmm.
Those are my two favorites probably.
Right.
And the most recent one I did with Graham. And then the triple threat match.
Right.
Because I'll probably start with one of those and just ramble a bit about the other ones. You know, the Graham one, for reasons that I mentioned.
Yeah.
You know, it's Graham and it's Graham.
Yeah.
Charlie Roberts, that was a really good one. The Liam Fury one, which I didn't cover, but I probably talked to people a lot about that because that was very pivotal for me. I think.
I think the Liam Fury one was one of your most favorite matches.
Yeah.
we'll get into that for the listeners. We'll get to the Liam Fury part.
Oh, for sure.
Yeah.
Such a fan for that guy.
Yeah, well.
But you know, he's a lad, so I've told him that as well. I'm a massive fan of his work. So that was fun. The triple threat match, I think that was more because I'd wrestled them both, but I wrestled them together as well.
Mm-hmm.
So I feel like I don't want to say the Butler match or any of the Daniel Martins were my favorites. If I can just say that one was my favorite, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Put them in the same match and I kind of save myself some trouble.
Yes, all of those combined pretty much. Okay, now you mentioned Liam Fury. Just for, and Liam Fury already knows this. He is a supermark for Mr. Fury.
We've talked about this.
For people who have don't know Spencer that well, he is a supermark for Liam Fury.
No, I'm not.
He is. He definitely is. Getting the opportunity and finding out that you're going to wrestle the mad scientist himself, Liam
putting
Fury.
Me on the spot, it's just,
again, he is in the same group of people.
Caliber,
He is the guy, and he has been dubbed the best wrestler this country has to offer. Former IPW champion now, former IPW tag team champion. He's former SPW tag team champion. He has done it all. Getting the opportunity to wrestle him, what was the thought process of you finding out that you're about to wrestle the mad scientist and going through that match and coming out of that match? Just tell us through it, man.
Oh God. To be honest, I think that was probably the most stressed I'd been, like, besides the first match and the Charlie Roberts one. Like, that one was pretty hyped up, and so, oh boy.
Mm-hmm.
It's kind of like the new school versus the old school, you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Like, not that he's old school because he's still wrestling, but old school is, and he's been around a lot, and I think it was kind of built as two guys who are relatively high flyers and technical and whatnot, and I remember the videos being shared around and everything, and I was kind of packing myself with that as well. Because it got a lot of attention and stuff, and that was the same show that the Rumble was on.
Yes.
That was so. I think wrestling him, I was more nervous about not how good he is, but more so that I had watched him wrestle in IPW, like when I first moved to Auckland from Christchurch.
Right.
It was one of those ones where you don't idolize someone, but you're a fan of their stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Like, oh, this is pretty cool. I'm getting really giddy because I'm wrestling someone that I would have watched before, and so I think it was more that, to be honest. But singles match, like, wrestling him was a good time. It was it wasn't even hard hitting. There wasn't a lot of strikes. It was more just intense, I guess. Like, I don't think I've ever wrestled someone that I feel not more comfortable with, but more like we flow really well, because our styles are very, very similar from what I got from that. But yeah, I mean, wrestling him was a good time. It was a good experience, and I learned a lot from that as well.
You know, going away from like that match and Liam Fury, do you did you think that, okay, maybe now I need to start stepping up my game a bit?
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. I don't even remember what. It was just more, I've got a lot of work to put in.
Right.
I think you know this as well because we've talked about this.
Mm-hmm.
But you wrestle those people that are just so good,
Mm-hmm.
and then you realize not how, I hate to say it, not how shit you are, but how much you've got to go.
Mm-hmm.
Like that puts things into perspective, and
it's because you want to be in the same level as they are,
yeah,
and you know the amount of work that they've put in,
that's the one,
which
yeah.
is just like, okay,
Yeah.
this is the amount of work that they've put in. I
Yeah.
know I have to put the same amount.
So yeah, that was probably part of it. I think
Mm-hmm.
just hard work and time, because like time is what gives you the hard work.
Mm-hmm.
You put in the hard work through time.
Mm-hmm.
Like you invest all your time into it. I won't go into my daily schedule, but like, you know, I probably spend a few hours every day watching wrestling of all sorts, from Japan to mostly the States and the UK, but Japan, and wrestling all sorts of videos, trying to see what I could have picked up from the last show, and the Hughes Academy Pivot Share, you know, service that will hopefully be going on.
Yeah, that's
Yeah, you know, because you know, I'd watch the show back and the match, not to, because it was a good match, so I wouldn't watch it back to, you know, to jerk off to it and be like, oh, that was really good, but more so to critique myself and
Mm-hmm.
look at the little things that I didn't do well,
Mm-hmm.
because that's super important. And being a perfectionist, I'm always looking for the little things and want the honest feedback and, you know, anything that I can.
Mm-hmm.
So watching that back and watching other matches that aren't like that, but I can learn stuff from that to improve in my game.
Mm-hmm.
I think it all kind of helps.
Going, you know, coming from where you were to where you are now, you know, you've had the opportunity to wrestle for Maniacs United. You've had 2 matches for them now.
Yep.
The last one just being this previous weekend, which was a Fatal 4-Way match.
Yeah.
Which I believe was Woolstone, yourself, Charlie Roberts, and
Lance Adams.
Lance Adams.
One
Sorry,
of the
Lance.
Maniacs
I was trying
United
to-
wrestlers,
my
yeah.
brain's fried. But I do remember.
Sweet. Okay.
Making your Maniacs United debut match.
Mm.
Again, you know, you mentioned that was the place you started off training.
Yep.
What was the feeling and the thought process of going back to where you originally started to actually debut for a show?
Yeah. So just digressing a little bit and going back to when I first started training.
Mm-hmm.
I think since that was the place that I first started training back in 2012.
Right.
Yeah, I feel like just going back there, like you mentioned. Which, I mean, I've been hanging around the shows for a while and whatnot, trying to help out where I can, and you know, because I want to see the shows do well.
Yeah.
Since that is my home promotion, school, whatever you know, I've grown up with that place. But getting to be on the first show that I did was an intergender match with Frankie.
Yeah.
And that was the student show, September, I think, of last year.
I think so.
Yeah.
Yeah.
She won with the cheeky DQ, the old low blow to the...
Yeah.
Yeah. Still got to get it back for that. And then fast forward to just last weekend,
Mm-hmm.
the 26th of Jan. It was Heat Smash for Maniac United at Henderson Valley School. And yeah, it was against Charlie Roberts, Lance Adams, and Worcester. And that was the first Fatal 4-Way that I've ever done.
Mm-hmm.
So I feel like that that was also daunting because, you know, 3 other people apart from yourself, it kind of throws you off.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, oh Jesus, that's a lot of people in the ring. This is going to turn into a scrap. This is definitely confusing and something different.
Mm-hmm.
But that is where I learn, is when I get pushed and thrown into that deep end. So
Mm-hmm.
yeah, and then there's, it's confirmed as at the date that we film this, so I'm allowed to talk about it. The next Maniac show is also the Fatal 4-Way.
No.
And that's the Graham versus Frankie versus Matty Short for the Maniacs title. And I feel like going into that one, I get another shot at Frankie and get to take the fight back to her after the DQ and the low blow, and Matty Short get to wrestle him for the first time, so that's going to be fun. And then Graham, of course, I always say it's Graham, so it doesn't need much more explanation than that, because I love the guy's wrestling, and outside of the ring he's not as bad as he is in the ring. Wow. So it'll be a fun time wrestling those people. And so I'm rambling a bit again, but the point is the different Fatal 4-Ways and kind of moving on from the Maniac stuff, like just I think that's important for me because I stress out a lot, as I'm covering this, and I feel like wrestling different people like that in a situation where they're all in the ring at the same time, it makes me focus a lot more, because I have to worry about not just myself, not just someone else, but times 2 or whatever it is. So
going with from doing your Maniac stuff, and again debuting against in Maniac United with none other than Frankie Quinn, who is again the top, and again no disrespect to anyone, and I don't mean this to be disrespectful in any way, but who is the top female competitor and the top wrestler, as in the same caliber as Shane Sinclair, Liam Fury,
I'd say that too,
Charlie Roberts, Graham Hughes, the list goes on and on and on. You got Marcus School in those calibers, you got Kane Khan in those calibers as well now. She is there. Getting to wrestle Frankie Quinn. What was the...
It was fun.
The thought process in that match?
Yeah, I got kicked a lot and hair pulled and hit my nuts, and that's not fun.
Right.
That hurts. But wrestling someone who is, for once, smaller than I was,
right,
that was a very good experience, because I had probably catered my wrestling style to wrestling people who were twice my size. So I was used to doing the high flying stuff. I mean, Frankie's not really a high flying wrestler per se, but it was definitely different to take bigger impact moves like the tilt roll DDT. I think we did that once, and that was definitely a challenge, I guess.
All right.
But it was fun. Besides the few hits to the old groin there and whatnot.
So, taking...
Sorry, also going back a little bit, she's also someone else to learn from, like the KPW people, because she and Crystal Kane were the 2 original Hughes Academy trainees. So she's been around longer than I have.
Yeah.
I think she's been wrestling a year longer than I have, because she was also originally from Maniacs and one of Graham's first trainees and stuff. So, wrestling her was also picking their brain of someone who's been around and done more than I have. So, yeah.
What is your ultimate goal in professional wrestling? What would you like to do as a professional wrestler? Like your ultimate goal in professional wrestling.
Honestly, I only laugh at that because it's just too much. I'm that kind of guy who wants to live 5 lives in one. If I'm being honest, and I can't do all that in one. but I want to travel the UK and probably mostly at first, and then I want to go to Japan probably at least once. I think my end goal is the States though.
Yeah.
Because that's where my family are and that's what WWE is, and for anyone that I haven't talked their ears off, WWE is where I want to go.
Yeah.
You know, I've always felt like it's the place to be.
Right.
You know, people can have their opinions on it, they can trash it, they can blow smoke up, blow smoke to it, but for me personally, I've always loved it.
Yeah.
Like, I'm not just a wrestling fan, I'm a WWE fan.
Yeah.
And as you know this, that's where I have to be at the end.
Yeah.
That's where I need to end up.
Yeah.
And, maybe I'll be there for a bit, maybe I'll leave and wrestle somewhere else, but the point is I need to end up there at some point.
Yeah.
All my training, I've been training to get to there.
Yeah.
I cater some of the way I do things because of how they train the wrestlers. So I watch all the performance center videos and, great shows like Breaking Ground on the network to try and, I'll do a roll and I put my left foot forward because William Regal teaches their wrestlers to do that. Not because I want to get the American style, because you shouldn't do that. That's not the best way to learn. But because I want to, that's where I want to go. So I want to focus and learn their teachings as well and try and get there, I guess. But yeah, I just want to wrestle the world, to be honest. If I'm going back to your question and actually answering it properly, I want to go to Europe as well. Germany, there's a good wrestling scene over there, and the broader UK, so not just England, like Ireland and Scotland and whatever other countries in the UK I'm trying to think of. Surely there's 4 countries, I'm just tired.
No excuse.
Yeah. Ireland, Scotland, England. That's it, eh? I don't know. Moving on. So the UK, Europe, States, probably Mexico. All for different reasons, culture mostly. But I want to travel the world anyway, so why not wrestle while I'm doing it, I guess.
Right.
You know what I mean? And since WWE basically travels the world themselves, since it's the biggest entertainment brand for sporting, in general, I've got to be there. Simply put.
Fair enough. What is next for Spencer Kyle?
The February 9th show, I guess.
Okay.
Yeah. The Maniacs one, the student show, that's the Fatal 4-Way. But in terms of goals, like, just keep training, wrestle for different places, I guess. South Island, North Island. So Hughes, Maniacs, IPW, SPW, Silent Pro, all that kind of stuff. Just wherever I can get experience and broaden my wrestling traveling, I guess. You know what I mean? Before I head overseas to Australia or wherever I see fit after the 18 plus age milestone thing. You know what I mean? So yeah, I think it's more just focusing on training and keeping up solid work ethic and trying to pick the brains of as many people as I can before taking it to the world stage. And because I don't want to go to WWE with nothing, you know what I mean? I've got to have something to show for it, and I want to be on WWE programming with the people that helped me, watching me, and being like, that's what I taught him, and you know what I mean? I want them to be able to boast that they showed me what they did.
Right.
So I want to make them proud and display it to the public on the biggest stage that I can. So I think that's the goal, is just working towards that step by step, doing it however I have to do it.
Thank you very much for taking the time out and doing this catch up for Behind the Wrestler and updating everyone. Thank you everybody for joining us for this episode of Behind the Wrestler, and I will catch everybody next time.